Around 4th or 5th grade, I drew a picture of flowers and something, and it was up in the library, and I thought I was somebody, you know. I told all the kids, you know, and I was not the only one. There were several of us that had been chosen, and but that's fond memories for me. Another memory that I have, a fond memory, are my teachers. I'm one of the few persons, when we have our reunion, we just had our 60th reunion about 5 or 6 years ago, and I'm one of the few persons that can remember their teacher. They say, "You remember your teacher?" I said, "Don't you remember your teachers?" I love my teachers, you know. My kindergarten teacher through the 6th grade, and I had good teachers, and I remember each one for something special. And then when I got to Northeast, I found that they had really prepared me for the journey there. And then the teacher that I loved so much was Dr. Bertram Carruthers, who taught me general science. And he walked in the first day and threw his keys up in the air. And then he asked us what will happen if he throws them up again. And almost in unison, we said, "They're coming back down." And if you knew Mr. Carruthers, if you knew Dr. Carruthers, he would smile. You know, he had this smile. He'd look at you and he said, "No, it's the wrong answer." He said, "What you should have said was, if everything stays the same, they're coming back down." And I think he was, if I had any person to say, who first got you interested in thinking out of the box, I think it would be him. I had a teacher at Northeast Junior High School when I was a student, whose name was Miss Caldwell when I was there. She later became Mrs. Swisher, and she'd always talked about Pittsburgh. And she talked about what she had done and her travels and things, and then we read the Weekly Reader. I talk about it in my book. And I had written a letter to Drake University, I had written a letter to KU, and someone told me that to go to those schools you need a lot of clothes. I found out that wasn't true. But it was good for me because Pittsburgh was a better school for me in terms of size. Classes were smaller. When I was in high school, I loved drafting. I went into engineering drafting and design. And I minored in physical science. I took a major in biology, and then I did graduate work in biology at the University of Colorado and Kansas State College. I got into teaching. I had returned from military service, and I had learned shortly before being discharged that I had a GI Bill. And I was determined that I wasn't going to waste it. And I looked around for several things, none of which were teaching. That was farthest from my mind. And my wife became pregnant. I had a young son on the way, and I needed a job. I had graduated from Pittsburgh State University, at that time called Kansas State College. And Dr. Bertram Carruthers heard that I had majored in science, and he looked me up and told me they needed a science teacher at Northeast. And I took the job, planning on taking it for 1 year. And during the course of that year, I fell in love with the students. And after about probably a year, 2 years, I felt like I was called. I wouldn't have done anything else. My favorite part is when you have worked with a concept for perhaps a week or so, and then it starts gelling, and you look in the students' eyes and you realize they have it. There's nothing like that. You can't be paid for that. I taught close to 50 years. I started out at Northeast Junior High School. I taught 9th grade there, and before I left, I did get a chance to put in general biology there, which was one of the few junior high schools that had general biology at the time. Then Penn Valley was looking to integrate, and they were going to close Northeast. I knew they were going to close Northeast, and I went over to Penn Valley. Stayed there about 35 years all total. Spent a tenure as a chairman of the biology department, and enjoyed that. That was a good experience, but I still liked the classroom, so I went back to the classroom. My children, my own children, started asking me questions. I hadn't talked very much about school and that sort of thing. She said, "Daddy, what did you do?" And I never paid any attention about it. Miss Caldwell told me I should write about my life. And I said, "I haven't done anything significant." She said, "No," she said, "everyone should write their story." The thing that really pushed it off was my grandson was about 8 years old. He came over to stay the weekend, and he said, "Paw, let's talk before we go to sleep." And he started asking me questions, who I went to school with and where was the school and all and something said to me, I need to write something down so that the children know what happened. That's how the book got started. But I had long since thought about it, but just had never done anything. But when I retired, I had time. So I said, well, I'll just start jotting some things down. And then after I did it, I was going to go to Kinko's and just run some copies for my family. And a young man named Dr. Edward Eddy, he read it and said, "Roy, you need to let others read that." My real thrill is to talk with young people, particularly if I see some person that's about to give up on themselves. There's something in my background, and I sense and acknowledge it now. I want to get to that person who thinks I'm going to quit school or I'm going to give up on things. I want to get to him because I think too often we love the lovely and the unlovely we kick out.